welcome back to the channel. My name's Kevin Duty, and you're watching Duty's Daggers. First of all, if you're not subscribed, go ahead and hit that button. You'll be glad that you did, and I'll be very grateful for that. And follow me on Instagram at duties_daggers. I'm always kind of scared I'm going to drop this on the knife. This is a really thick piece of steel here. I haven't done it yet, and I don't plan to, but it kind of worries me. So, today we are going to be taking a close look at the Sharp by Design Apex, the flipper version. There is also a front flipper version, but this one we are looking at is the regular flipper version. Now, I uploaded the unboxing of this knife a couple days ago, but I've actually had the knife a little bit longer than that. So I feel like I've had a chance to, really take this knife in and form my opinions on it. I needed a little bit of time to kind of gather an unbiased criticism and opinion of this knife. I'm sure some of you guys know this, but when you spend a lot of money on something, you tend to make excuses in your head for it not having any flaws, because you want to justify the money that you spent. If you spend this much money, you want to believe that the thing that you bought is perfect. And that's not the case on this knife. There are a few minor flaws. I just wanted to say that, I'm really not letting the amount of money that I paid for this affect my honest review of it. Now, that being said, I really love this knife. I absolutely love it. And the couple things that I can criticize on it are in no means deal breakers for me. I will not be getting rid of this knife in the foreseeable future. I really, really like it. This thing is just a really, really well-built knife in a lot of ways. In design, in function, fit and finish, just everything. So, I guess first of all, let's do a little bit of specs. Let's measure this thing. We blow it out. I saw some gunk in there. Before we measure it, just look at this with me. You see the size of the knife as it's closed, in its closed position. Now, when I flip it open, doesn't it seem like there's a surprising amount of blade that was in this handle? And now that it's deployed, it's almost like it doesn't seem like this would fit inside of the handle. And I said in my unboxing, it almost felt like magic. It was almost like one of those rooms in Harry Potter where they go in this small tent and it's actually like a huge room inside. That's kind of how this feels. I'm not sure how Brian Nadeau, the guy who designed this knife, I'm not sure how he accomplished that. I'm not sure if it's an optical illusion or what. But you get a lot of really usable edge here with a pretty small package overall. I mean, it's not a large knife. I would say it's on the, it's a medium-sized knife. So let's measure it. Let's see exactly what we're dealing with here. We have a blade length of 3.5 inches. The handle is 4 3/8. Yeah, and then we have a closed length of 4. Well, yeah, that would have been the same as the handle length, 4 3/8. So, well, what's the overall here? It's almost exactly 8 inches. I think it is exactly 8 inches, actually. So, yeah, I mean, a 3.5 inch blade. That's a lot of blade. This is absolutely more than enough blade than I will ever need for my day-to-day use. That's for certain. So just really good ratios on this thing. Absolutely get a full grip on this thing. Even if you had larger hands than I, comfortably fitting onto this handle. Um, Now, this version of the knife is the Tonto version. There also is a drop point. I chose the Tonto just because I thought it looked really, really good. I love how the different sanding lines kind of intersect in this area here. I think it looks really, really cool. And also, I have a little bit of belly here in this hollow ground section of the blade. And I have kind of two usable points here. If I'm ripping into a package, I can slip this point in behind the tape and get it that way. Or if I want to lift up my wrist higher, I can get to that point. But even for draw cuts, this is pretty much another tip right here. You know, easy for draw cuts, and some people don't really like Tontos. I was never historically really into Tontos, but once I got one, I realized actually how useful they are. So I really like this blade shape. The blade steel is S90V, which I've never experienced before, but I've definitely experienced a lot of S30V. As far I don't know a ton about it, but as far as I know, it's just better than S30V in every way. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but that's my understanding of it. So, really, really nice blade steel, and just a really good looking blade. We have kind of more of a high polished satin on this flat here, and man, this wedge, everything just looks really, really cool. Really, really good. The edge from the factory from Sharp by Design or from Riat was extremely sharp. It still is. Very, very sharp. Also, this is made by Riat. So Brian Nadeau is the mastermind and designer at Sharp by Design, and he historically makes custom knives. But he does have a few models that he has sent over to Riat for them to make. And this makes the knife much more affordable, and the quality is still there. Riat is considered one of the best, if not the best, overseas manufacturer. So most of the best knife makers here in the States choose Riat because they know that they just do really, really good work. And they really have. I mean, this thing is it's just built so well. So we talked about the blade a little bit. Oh, one more thing about the blade is we have a pretty nice sharpening choil area here. So you're going to be able to sharpen this edge quite a few times, enough times, where you're not going to run into the plunge grind here. So this is good. This is what you like to see on a knife. You know that it has a lot of life in the blade, a lot of sharpenings that you can do on it before you start running into trouble in here. So that's great. Let's talk about the handle. This is full titanium, and we have a blue anodized aluminum inlay on both sides. The inlay work is pretty darn near absolutely perfect. Right here, I can't feel any transition between the titanium and the aluminum. It's just absolutely smooth, no seam. Back here, I can feel a little one. Definitely can't see it though. And then back here, I can feel a tiny little bit of lip. But visually, it looks absolutely seamless. I mean, the amount of precision that has to go into making this work is it's really mind-boggling. Same as with the back one, just absolutely perfect inlay work. The way these are secured in is with screws coming in through the back, so they are replaceable. I don't think there's many options on replacing them with different colors or anything right now, but I'm hoping in the future that will be available. I'm sure it will. We have a, it's pretty much deep carry. Well, you have that much sticking out. Almost a deep carry clip here on the back. We'll talk more about that when we get to the ergonomics part of the video. Functionally, it works great. Goes in and out of the pocket just fine. I really like how, well, first of all, I like how the pivot looks. Kind of looks like, I don't know, like a revolver, whatever you call that, cylinder deal. um, it's a captive pivot on this side, so it's not free spinning, and then you have your Turk's head on this side. So that's great. I love how, the surface of the scale kind of rises up to meet that pivot. You can see it's kind of sloping up there around it. That's just such a cool look. Just a really nice touch. Great aesthetic, just look to that. I really like this screw here that's holding in the steel lock bar insert. It's got a nice polish to it, and I like that it's, a flat head. It just looks really good. There's really minimal hardware on this thing. I mean, we have the pivot, we have the lock bar insert, and then we have this screw here that I believe secures this whole knife together back here. I believe there's also a pin in here, but I think this screw is the only thing that's holding everything together here besides the pivot. So that's really nice. It just gives it a really nice clean look. You're not looking at any hardware. It's just such a sleek, just really good design. We have some jimping back here, and you can see there's the seam where both of these pieces of titanium come together. You can see it, but you cannot feel it. It is it just might as well be invisible. I mean, yeah, even through this jimping, that seam runs all the way up. You cannot feel any bit of that seam. I'm not sure why that jimping is there. It might be for the reverse grip. It's a nice place to set your thumb if you're holding the knife like this. I hardly ever hold my knives like this, but I don't know. It's a cool touch. It's there if you need it. This whole the hole here in the handle. Some people hate it. Some people are indifferent. I would say I'm indifferent on it. I don't dislike it. I would be pretty stoked though if they sold some of these inserts without the hole. I think I would definitely buy one of those. But I definitely don't hate it. It kind of fits with the design. You have the hole here for deployment, and then you have this other hole back here. It kind of all just goes together. We have the lock bar relief cutout right here, but it's very minimal. I think most of it is behind this insert, so that's good. Yeah, we have an over travel stop that's actually built into the lock bar insert. And speaking of the lock bar insert, this knife does not have a traditional detent ball. Most knives have a little ball in there that creates the resistance when you are going to flick the knife. I have a different video on explaining detent balls. I will link it right up there right now if you don't know what a detent ball is and you want to learn. But this knife does not have one. It functions like it does have one, and in fact there is a small little nub that is actually a part of this steel lock bar insert that is serving as the detent. You can kind of see it in there. And that's pretty, it's cool. Brian Nadeau came up with a different way to have a detent. And the result of this new way to do the detent is you have a very crisp breakaway from that. It's kind of hard to tell watching me do it, but the breakaway when you put pressure on this flipper tab or on this cutout to open the knife, you can almost hear it. It's a very crisp breakaway. So it just feels really good opening the knife. It's kind of hard to explain. I hope that all of you one day will be able to experience it. If you haven't already, it's really one of a kind feeling. It's just so crisp, and that's what you want a detent to be. You want a clean breakaway so that the blade just pops right out effortlessly. And Oh man, the reverse flick's really my favorite way to open the knife. Man, it's just so good. The flipper tab works really well too, though. It's comfortable. There's no jimping on it, which I kind of like. You don't really need it because you have, this kind of flat area on the top to put your finger on. Just gently push down, and once that nub jumps up onto the tang of the blade, you're in business. It is popping right out. Speaking of the action, you probably noticed total false shut action, unbelievable action. This thing is only getting smoother the longer I have it. It's crazy, man. It's glassy. It's not like a guillotine, like if I put it right here, it's not going to just slam shut, but it is just glassy smooth, man. It is, there is zero, well, there's very little friction happening in this pivot. Glassy. Unbelievable. This is my first time experiencing a Brian Nadeau knife design, and now I understand what people are talking about when they talk about his knives. I get it now. It's really just one of a kind feeling. I think that's a pretty good overview of the knife. Now we can get into a couple little nitpicks that I have with it. The main complaint people have with this knife is the pocket clip. I'm sure you've been waiting for me to mention the pocket clip. Well, here we go. Because of the hole here, the pocket clip has to be kind of positioned up here towards the back of the knife. And as a result of that, it creates a hot spot because that's right where your hand is kind of wrapping around the knife. You want your edges of your knife to be nicely contoured around at the edges so that it's comfortable. If the clip was in the middle, it would kind of be sitting in this hollow spot in your palm, and you wouldn't really notice it as much. In addition to that, the edges of this pocket clip are pretty sharp, and the tip right here is as well. So it's not great. You do feel it when you're gripping the knife. You feel that pocket clip. And it's kind of a shame because looking at this handle, you just know it would be hand-meltingly comfortable if this pocket clip was in a different spot, less sharp, in some way not how it is. It's really not horrible though. After watching a lot of reviews of this knife before it came in the mail, some people were really saying that it was absolutely horrible. So I was kind of worried about that. But once I actually got it and held it, I realized, yeah, it's a hot spot. It's definitely not the most comfortable, but I don't think it's as bad for me as I thought it would be. Now this is for my hand. People have different shaped hands. They grip knives differently than I do. I'm just saying for my hand, it's really not that bad. I notice it. It's there. It definitely could be better. I wish it was better. But it's not a big turnoff for me. It would not prevent me from bearing down on this thing and doing a lot of cutting. I guess I haven't done that yet, so maybe it would. But I mean, I've gripped this thing as hard as I can for a couple minutes, and it's okay. It's not awful. It's definitely not good. So that's my probably my main complaint with the knife. Now the other one is this lock bar here. Now while it is really easy to disengage, the lock bar insert kind of sits proud of this surface of the lock bar. You can see it's kind of sticking out a bit right here, which is kind of, I'm not exactly sure why he did that. I don't think it has to be like that. But as a result, when you're going to push over the lock bar, my thumb often lands kind of in the middle here, between half on the insert and half right here, and it's kind of not super comfortable. If I'm paying attention, I just go right above it and unlock it with my whole thumb on this insert, and it's fine. It's totally fine. But sometimes if I'm not paying attention or I'm rushing, my thumb lands kind of right in the middle, and it's not the most comfortable thing. So yeah, that's my other gripe, or criticism. Um, not a huge deal, just something that could be better, could be different. Aside from those two things, I absolutely love everything about this thing. Everything. I am very, very happy with it. Just the action, absolute smoothness, the look, the aesthetic, the blade steel, the blade grinds, the amount of blade you get in this package. It's just it's a very good knife. I would be very curious to check out the front flipper version, just to kind of see how it was. Having this flipper tab here, it isn't really getting in the way of anything because there's not a choil up here, a finger choil. So it's really not in the way. So it's not like without that it would be better ergonomically. I don't think that would be the case. But I just want to feel how this detent is with the front flipper. I'm sure it's really, really nice. Man, yeah. I really like this knife, guys. I really, really like it. Let's do a little bit of size comparison so you can get an idea of how big it is. I should have done that sooner. I always forget about it and wait till the end. Spyderco Paramilitary 2. Bigger than the Apex here. Benchmade Griptilian sheep's foot version. Bigger than the Apex as well. About the Civivi Conspirator. Bigger than the Apex as well. And how about the Demco 80 20.5? A little bit smaller than the Apex. So there you go. That should give you an idea of how big the knife is. Like I said, overall, I absolutely love this thing. The two main complaints that I have, the pocket clip and this, the way this lock bar insert is, not a deal breaker for me at all. It may be for some people, and that's fine. Everyone has different opinions and looks for different things in a knife. For me, I absolutely love this thing. I really, really love this thing. I mean, I haven't done a bunch of cutting with it. I've definitely done a good amount. I broke down some boxes and opened some packages and that kind of thing. It's a very slicey blade. It's thin behind the edge. This hollow grind really does well with this knife. Yeah, I think that's about it. The Sharp by Design Apex. This is my first really premium knife that I've ever owned. Yeah. Very, very happy with it. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully that was informative for you if you're thinking about buying one or you're just curious to see what it's all about. I do have a Patreon. It's linked down below. If you feel like checking that out, go for it. Yeah, that's about it. Thanks for your support. I love all of you. And I'll see you in the next video. Adios.